Welcome to the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast, where timeless biblical truths meet modern leadership. We are thrilled to have you join us on this journey of exploring how biblical principles can guide us in leading with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're leading in the church, your workplace, or your community, this podcast is designed to inspire, challenge, and equip you for the road ahead. Let's dive into today's conversation and discover how Scripture shapes the way we lead.
Welcome back to Biblical Perspectives for Leadership. Today we're doing a really deep dive into, just one core story, but it's packed with lessons for leadership and frankly, just for everyday life. We're looking at the very beginning of Moses' life, his birth and early experiences found in the book of Exodus. And our goal really is to see how human choices, faith, courage interact with what some call divine providence to shape someone's destiny.
Absolutely. And this story, this material, it's more than just history. It really gives us a kind of blueprint for how to handle pressure, how to navigate big transitions. For you listening, these sources actually highlight 5, I think, quite surprising insights about destiny, faith, courage, and maybe the hardest part, letting go of control.
Okay, before we get into the thick of it, you brought up divine providence. That's a term we'll probably use a bit. Could you maybe ground that for us? What does that actually look like in a story like this?
Yeah, that's really important. When we talk about providence, we're not necessarily talking about huge, overt miracles like, parting the Red Sea later on. It's more about God's sovereign, often quiet direction of events, how he arranges people, timing, circumstances to bring about his intended result. And you see it clearly here. Providence often looks an awful lot like coincidence. But when you look closer, you see an intentional hand guiding things beneath the surface of just, normal life.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So like a hidden current guiding things. Let's unpack this, starting right at the beginning. How a leader's journey often starts with protection. The story kicks off quite simply. We're in Exodus chapter 1, verses 1 through 2. A man and woman from Levi's tribe marry. She conceives, has a son. Simple enough. But the material notes something specific. His mother saw he was a goodly child, like special, beautiful. And given the danger, Pharaoh's decree against Hebrew baby boys, she hides him for 3 months.
And that act of hiding, it's fascinating because it speaks volumes about protecting potential. The leadership principle right there is about recognizing something valuable and shielding it while it's vulnerable. I mean, think about the context. It was a dark time, intense oppression, yet God's plan is already unfolding through this one family's, leap of faith. And the life experience call out here is huge for anyone in leadership or even parenting. Just like his mother saw something unique in him, we need to spot and nurture gifts in others or even in our own ideas before the world gets a chance to dismiss or crush them.
Yeah, that really clicks. Exposing something fragile too early, like a new business idea, or maybe even to developing talent in someone on your team. If you push it out too soon, negativity or just, the harsh realities can kill it. So sometimes that initial phase has to be quiet, protected, almost secret because you believe in its potential.
Exactly. Strategic patience, you could call it. Knowing that what you're holding is precious and needs that safe space, that insulation, until it's strong enough for the river, metaphorically speaking.
But that protection, as you said, it can't last forever. Which brings us to the next part, Exodus chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. This is the tough part. The transition. She can't hide him anymore. She has to let go.
Right. And this is where you see the incredible strength involved in surrender. It's not passive resignation. Look at how the material describes the basket. It wasn't just any old container. It specifies papyrus coated carefully with tar and pitch. It's engineered.
Sealed for the journey.
Precisely. Built with care, with intention. She's preparing him, giving him the best possible vessel for what's ahead, not just abandoning him.
Okay, so she places him in the reeds by the riverbank. And his sister, Miriam, is watching from a distance.
Yes, and that image, the sister watching, it's powerful. But the core spiritual insight here is about faith manifesting as release. Sometimes faith means letting go of the very thing you love most, the thing you've protected so fiercely, and trusting God to, carry it. It's terrifying.
Oh, absolutely terrifying. I immediately think of parents dropping their kids off at college for the first time. That feeling. Or maybe in a leadership context, launching a major project you've poured everything into. You've built the best basket you could, and now You just have to trust it'll float, that it'll survive out there without your constant hands-on control.
That's it exactly. And it hits on a key thought for anyone, maybe especially leaders who struggle with needing to control everything. Your job is to build the best bath kit you can, do the preparation, the work, the sealing. But ultimately, God's job is to guide it down the river. Providence takes over the trajectory. If you hang onto the basket too tightly, it actually never gets its chance.
And what a trajectory it turned out to be. Providence shows up next, and in a way nobody could have predicted. This is Exodus chapter 1, verses 5 and 6. Pharaoh's daughter comes down to the Nile.
Yes, right there. Talk about unexpected. She comes to bathe, sees this basket among the reeds, sends her attendant to get it, opens it, and finds a baby crying.
And the text is very specific here, isn't it?
It is. It says she has compassion on him, even though she immediately recognizes, she knows, he's one of the Hebrew children.
Wow. So the daughter of the man who ordered these babies killed.
Correct. The very law of the land, decreed by her own father, demanded this child's death, and yet her reaction is compassion.
It's a massive personal risk for her, surely.
Yeah.
Defying her father's edict like that.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell us about how intervention can work?
It tells us something pretty profound. God can actually move the heart of someone you'd perceive as an adversary, or at least someone completely outside your circle, to show you favor, even to rescue you. It completely bypasses logic, doesn't it? Bypasses the official rules. Sometimes the person who, on paper, has every reason to be against you or has the power to harm you becomes the very instrument of your deliverance.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for everyday life, too. You see this happen, maybe not as dramatically, but it's like you apply for a job and maybe you don't tick every single box on the experience list. Logically, you shouldn't get it. But the hiring manager just connects with you, sees something, and gives you the chance anyway.
That's favor.
Right? Opening a door that simple logic would have kept shut.
Precisely. It highlights how sometimes the quote-unquote wrong people in the right place, people who politically or relationally should be obstacles, are exactly who God uses. It challenges our assumptions about where help comes from. We often expect it from our tribe, but sometimes rescue arrives from the palace itself, and it reinforces that key thought. God's providence might look like luck or coincidence, but underneath, it's often his very detailed plan unfolding.
And the story just keeps layering on these reversals. You get to Exodus chapter 1, verses 7 through 9. Providence doesn't just save, it actually restores. So Pharaoh's daughter has the baby, and Miriam, the sister who was watching, quick thinking, bold move. She steps up.
Right. She sees her chance, steps in at the reeds and asks Pharaoh's daughter, "Hey, should I go find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" Incredible boldness.
And the princess says yes.
Yes. And who does Miriam bring? Their own mother, Moses' mother. And get this, Pharaoh's daughter says, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay you wages."
Okay, wait. I need to push back here a bit. If she gets paid to nurse her own son, does that kind of lessen the sacrifice she made earlier? Was it really letting go as she gets him back? Plus a salary. Feels almost like smart planning, not just faith.
That's a fair challenge and an important one to explore, but I think it misses the sequence and the heart behind the initial act. Her sacrifice wasn't releasing him in order to get paid. Her sacrifice was releasing him fully, completely into the Nile, facing almost certain death according to the decree. She surrendered him without any guarantee of ever seeing him again, let alone getting him back. The payment, the return. That's the unexpected blessing after the total surrender. It wasn't a calculated move. It was, well, Providence turning her desperate act of faith into unbelievable provision.
Ah, okay. So the reward came because of the complete letting go, not out of the strategy.
Exactly. Only God could orchestrate that kind of turnaround. Taking the moment of her deepest loss, the potential death of her child, and flipping it into paid restoration. She gets her son back, and the means to care for him during those crucial early months.
That makes sense. And the principle then for leadership or just life, when you truly surrender control of something precious, maybe something you feel you're losing, God has this ability not just to preserve it, but sometimes to return it with added blessing in ways you couldn't have engineered yourself. You see it, like you said, maybe losing a job that felt like everything, only to find a much better opportunity later on. More fulfilling, better compensated. The initial loss felt like the end, but it cleared the way for greater provision.
Absolutely. It drives home that powerful thought. Only God can turn your perceived greatest loss into your greatest provision. The very moment she released him set the stage for this unexpected blessing.
So moving on, the final piece we're looking at today involves identity and the awakening of purpose. This is Exodus chapter 1, verses 10 and 11. The child grows up, he's weaned, and his mother brings him back to Pharaoh's daughter. He officially becomes her son, and she names him Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water.
And there are two huge takeaways right here, especially for anyone thinking about leadership or their own calling. First, identity. He's raised in the Egyptian palace, gets the best education, probably military training, everything. Yet his name, his core identity marker given by Pharaoh's daughter herself, points back to his rescue, his origin story drawn out. People, circumstances, even your own past might try to label you, by your environment, your struggles, your failures, but God is the one who defines your true identity. And he often uses that past, even the time spent in a foreign house like the Egyptian palace, as preparation for your future purpose.
That's powerful. All that Egyptian training wasn't random. It was part of the preparation, which leads right into the second point you mentioned, the awakening. Because the story tells us once he's grown, Moses goes out to his own people. He sees their suffering, their burdens, and then he witnesses something specific, an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew worker, one of his kinsmen.
Yes, and that is the catalyst. True leadership, authentic calling, it's almost always ignited by compassion, not just by acquiring skills or status. He wasn't awakened by getting a promotion in the palace. He was awakened by empathy, by seeing the pain of his people firsthand. God often stirs us to our purpose by connecting our hearts deeply, personally, to the suffering or struggles of others. Real leadership starts there, seeing and feeling the burdens around you. It's less about the position you hold and much more about the pain you notice.
It's like all that palace training suddenly finds its focus, right? It collides with the reality of who he truly is and where he came from. You see this pattern again and again, like a teacher who really struggled with learning to read as a kid, now dedicating their whole career to literacy programs. Or someone who survives a serious illness and then starts a foundation to help others going through it. They were drawn out of something difficult, equipped perhaps by that experience so they could eventually go back and serve the people they identify with.
Exactly, and that really seals the final key thought on purpose from this passage. When you truly see the pain of your people, whatever group you feel connected to, you often glimpse the purpose for your life. That connection, that empathy is what transforms potential into action, into destiny. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the main synthesis for you listening is really this. The journey of faith isn't about being perfect or maintaining absolute control. It's fundamentally about trust. Think back over the story, especially that critical moment of letting go. Maybe for you, it's a relationship, a career path that isn't working, a dream that feels stalled, or even a struggle for healing that you're just gripping so tightly.
Yeah, and we've seen today that real strength, paradoxically, isn't always in holding on tighter. Like Moses' mother, there comes a point, a strategic moment perhaps, where the strongest, most faith-filled thing you can do is to carefully place that precious thing, that hope, that project, that person into the basket. Seal it as best you can with wisdom, with prayer, whatever preparation feels right, and then release it. Put it in the river of God's providence. It feels like weakness, but the story shows us it's actually the highest form of strength, essential for moving forward.
So the provocative thought we want to leave you with this week, coming straight from this material. What basket are you still clutching tightly on the riverbank? What situation, what dream, what potential are you afraid to release into the current when maybe God is asking you to trust his hands to carry it better than yours can?
Thank you for joining us on the Biblical Perspectives for Leadership podcast. I hope today's insights have encouraged and equipped you to lead with faith, wisdom, and purpose. Remember, the greatest leader of all time taught us that true leadership is about serving others. If you enjoyed this episode and podcast, be sure to subscribe, share it with others, and leave a review. It helps us reach more people with these transformative truths. Until next time, keep leading with grace and walking in purpose.